Hey YouTube, Brian LCS, and welcome to the Comic Book Community 411. And my special guest is Otto Talks Comics. Otto, welcome to the channel.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me on, Brian. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. So before we get into the questions, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself or your channel?
Sure, yeah. I'm 16 years old. I started my channel a couple years ago. It's called Otto Talks Comics. And yeah, I've just been posting since then, more and more different types of content involving comics. I mostly collect Marvel, but I'm also kind of into indies, but not so much DC right now.
Okay. And so the first question is, how did you get into comic books? What got you into collecting books?
Yeah, so I was probably like 3 or 4, really young, when I first got into it. And me and my mom, when my sister was at piano lessons, we would go off and split off and go to Salvation Army. And they used to have this rack where there'd be like $1 comic books, and it'd just be totally random issues of old series. I remember getting like issues of the old like Bendis Avengers runs and things like that. So that was kind of how I got into things. There was also this group of series that they did called Marvel Adventures back in the day, and they're kind of like a smaller binding, smaller size comic book, and they were kind of geared towards kids, but they're actually really well done with some good characters and like some funny moments. They've since discontinued those. They haven't been around for a while, but that was one of my favorites when I was younger.
Okay. And so then how did you make the leap to, starting a YouTube channel and saying, I want to talk about comics, on YouTube?
Yeah, so it was something that I had wanted to do for a while, but I hadn't really ever gotten around to it. I had done like a couple other YouTube channels with like my cousin where we just post like, gameplay, playing video games and things like that. But since I was so into comics, I got even more into getting single issues and stuff and starting a pull list a couple years ago. I decided to start. My mom was like, why don't you just show me some of your comics and I'll film you? She's also kind of into them. I like put issues by her bedside and she reads them. So one day I was going to show her some of the comics in one of my boxes, and we filmed it. And I was just showing like comic box A, all of the, comics starting with the letter A. So it was like Amazing Spider-Man and Avengers and stuff like that. And that first video was really awkward and hard to get through. But yeah, ever since then, I've just been doing like new comics hauls every week. That's kind of like the backbone of the channel, as well as like reviews and things like that. So it's just continued from there.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty easy. I do the similar thing with, when I go to the comic book shop on Wednesday and pick up new books, you show them off. It's kind of an easy way to, make a video. And then I do some reviews as well of Amazing Spider-Man, and I know you've done some. So yeah, that's kind of another easy way to be able to create, content just around the books that you pick up and read. So
for sure. Yeah.
So if you could, my next question is, if you had creative control over a character, if you could, reboot or rewrite, who would you tackle?
That's a good question. I mean, there's a bunch of different characters that would come to mind, but on a basic note, I guess I would just say Amazing Spider-Man. It seems like over the last few years, like since Dan Slott's run ended, even a lot of people don't like that run, which I honestly kind of liked it. I didn't read too much of it, but I think that it wouldn't be that hard to get fans what they want with Amazing Spider-Man. Like, it seems like most people want Peter to be with Mary Jane, which could be pretty easily done. They're kind of going in that direction, but spoilers for the new run, now it's not really like that anymore. And I think him being with Mary Jane, just bringing back different plot threads that people like the most, like all the Superior Spider-Man stuff. I think a lot of people are fans of Flash Thompson. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot that could be said about that, but it does seem like a lot of creators have been coming in and doing whatever they want with the character, but it's never quite been what people really want from Spider-Man. So that's probably the character that I'd reboot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I've been, Spider-Man is my favorite character, and I've been reading him and following him for a long time. And, at the end of volume 5, we had that, Mary Jane and Peter were back together, and I really thought it was going to be something set up that we were going to develop in the next, this current series. And then it kind of just, issue 1, it kind of got blown apart. And I think that was I don't know if that was like a cliffhanger to try to suck people into the new volume, the new reboot, or, what's the master plan? It almost seems like writers want to do something totally, their own or way out there compared to, like you said, what readers want.
Right.
Where we want, most people want Peter Parker back with Mary Jane and going from there. So yeah, it's I think it's a tough situation to be in because the character has such a long history, just like maybe Superman or Batman, a character that's been around for such a long time that. But yeah, I agree. If we could just get back to what the readers want, I think the book could even be more popular than it is.
Yeah,
it is today. So,
and the interesting thing is that Zeb Wells is the new writer on Amazing Spider-Man, right? But he also wrote a lot of that Amazing Spider-Man Beyond run, which was the end of Volume 5. And I think he wrote that last issue where we saw like Mary Jane moving in with Peter Parker at the end. And it really seemed like things were going well for them. And then just a couple weeks later, the next issue was written by the same guy, but they immediately do this 5-month jump. So it's kind of a weird back and forth.
Yeah, and I enjoyed Zeb Wells writing on the Beyond, in that Beyond storyline. I got excited that he was taking it over because of a couple issues that he did near the end of that run that I thought were really headed in the right direction. And then, yeah, the total, 180 when we got the new number 1. So
right.
I'm hoping he has a master plan and it will come back around and hopefully, we see it in the next couple issues, but
yeah, that seems to be the main thing people don't like about the run. But honestly, I'm not minding John Romita Jr.'s artwork that much. I know that's something a lot of people aren't liking. It depends on whether you like his style or not. But I think Zeb Wells is doing a good job besides the Mary Jane thing. Like he's bringing some humor back, which I thought Nick Spencer was kind of lacking in his run. So yeah,
and I mean that's right. That's kind of a staple of Peter Parker Spider-Man. His little jokes and even and I found that in the last issue where some of the humor and some of the, not even from Spider-Man and Peter Parker, but more from some of the villains, some of the dialogue back and forth, they were kind of going at each other. So, which was funny. Yeah. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful it will turn around and we'll get a little bit more. I think consistency is. I think we've had some ups and downs. So
that's true.
If we could get something a little bit more consistent, but we'll see. I'm still buying it either way. So
yeah, me too. Got to stay on that.
So, what about the comic book community? Whether YouTube or collecting in general, what's one thing that you don't like or dislike about comic book collecting?
So one thing that I've been noticing lately, it's kind of specific. It has to do with Marvel Comics that I've been kind of angry about. Is I've noticed that when they have like an event comic, like say Judgment Day #1 just came out, is a good example. They charge an extra $1 for the issue. So like this is kind of specific, but I think you get 20 pages usually for $4 of a comic book in general. That's like what people charge for the amount of pages. And then they'll charge like 5 for 30 pages, which is obviously a good deal. It's like less of the price for more pages. But I've noticed that Marvel will start making these 30-page first issues of like events, even if it's not that big a deal. Like I think they did the same thing for that X Lives and X Deaths of Wolverine thing. Right. They'll charge an extra $1, but you still get like the amount of pages you should have had for $5, but the issue costs $6. So I don't know. I know that's kind of specific, but that's one thing that I have been noticing. Marvel is getting a little bit scummy, charging extra. To begin with, like their paper quality is already worse compared to DC and everything, so it's not good.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was going to mention. I know, and some of the books, the Marvel books, the cover quality, I've seen a lot of covers that have been just very wavy,
right?
Just,
yeah,
brand new. You go pick them up on a new comic book day, and the covers are just, bad. The paper quality is so bad.
Yeah, the cover is like the same quality as the interior, and I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago. We all remember, anyone who buys comics remembers how they had that like streak of a couple of weeks where most of the books had like the worst like toilet paper quality ever. Yeah. And it just seemed impossible that they were printing on such bad paper, but they've stepped things up since then.
But, and then I've seen some covers where there's, it's quality. It's a little bit heavier. It's better quality, but it's just very kind of week to week and title to title that you just never know, what paper quality you're going to get when you go, pick up the book. So
it's true. Yeah.
So, okay. So that was it. Well, those were the 4 questions that I ask everybody. Now we're going to kind of get into the 2 random questions.
Okay.
So and I picked the first random question is a question that I come up with. The second one will just be we'll pick a number and grab a random question from a list of questions that I have. But so I was going back, I was looking at some of your videos, your early videos, and I did happen to watch the video with your mom.
Oh,
So do you think that's do you think you'll ever bring your mom back onto the show, or it's like, hey, no, it's my channel now, I'm doing my own thing?
I mean, I think for sure, yeah, at some point. We've done, I think, 2 videos together, and it's been a couple of years that I've been doing my channel, so we have been talking about maybe doing another video together. It's a lot of fun to make videos with her and just to talk with comics about her because, not too many kids my age these days are into comics. It's become more of, they're into video games and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I really wish that more people could be exposed to it in my age group. But I've gotten my mom into comics over the last few years also. So like some of the main series that we read, like Strange Academy and Venom, series like that, I'll put them by her bedside and we'll read them, like I said. So it's just nice to have someone to talk about comics with, and it makes sense to get her involved with the channel also for that same reason. So probably in the future, we'll do some more videos.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. Now, does she collect, or it's just really if you pick something up and then she'll read what you're picking up?
Yeah, we basically share the collection. So
okay.
Yeah, I share the issues I pick up.
Oh, that's good. I mean, that's great though that she has an interest, and that was one you mentioned it. That was one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on and sit down and talk with you, is because you're a younger collector, and there's only I'm only aware of a handful of really younger collectors that have YouTube channels, and so I find it interesting that somebody your age is into comics. I mean, obviously with the MCU and Disney Plus and all the live action superhero content that's out there, I can certainly see that younger viewers could be drawn into comic books, collecting comic books.
Yeah.
But that was one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on, just to kind of get your, somebody who's collecting, who's a younger collector, to kind of get your point of view on comic book collecting. So.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay. So why don't we move on to our last random question? So I have a list of 50 questions. So just give me a number 1 through 50, and wherever we land, that'll be the question.
Let's say 17.
17. Okay, this is a pretty easy one, maybe. On a scale of 1 to 10, how funny would you say you are?
How funny would I say I am? I don't think I'm that funny of a person. I might put myself at like 5. Okay. Like, I mean, sometimes I like joke around with my friends or something, but I'm not like the funny person in the friend group or anything like that. So I'm just neutral, I'd say.
All right in the middle. That's a good way to go. Yeah. All right. So that was it. That was the
awesome.
That was the final question. So why don't you just what do you have coming up on your channel? I know I know you mentioned usually you're doing comic book hauls, kind of a weekly haul and then a review, but do you have anything specific that's coming up on your channel?
Right. Not much planned. I guess I just do my weekly comic book hauls on Wednesdays. And I also usually post a review of one issue on that same day. Sometimes I do like breaking news type stuff for the comic industry. And I might want to get into more like kind of more in-depth videos. Like I'm thinking about making one about Substack comics and how that's almost kind of failed over the last year or so. It hasn't gotten quite as much traction as you might think it was. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting because that was kind of in the news and a lot of people were talking about Substack, and then you really haven't, over the last couple of months, you really haven't heard much, much about it. Yeah.
I mean, I've looked at some of these big creators Substacks that they have, and it'll be like only a couple thousand views for each new installment or whatever. And they only post like 3 or 4 pages of the comics at a time. It really seems like they're just trying to set themselves up to like reprint them under Image or some other small publisher. So
yeah, interesting. Yeah, I know. So Scott Snyder, he lives locally, and he actually goes. Oh, really? He goes to the same LCS that I do, and he was doing before he started his Substack. He was doing videos on Instagram from the LCS, and doing some information on comic book writing, and then he stopped that because now all of that content is on Substack. But I thought that was interesting, a way for a creator to kind of reach his audience through videos on Instagram.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, but yeah, now Substack has kind of replaced that, so he stopped doing that. So
Yeah, it's too bad.
Okay, so I have links down below. So if you're not familiar with Otto's channel, please go check him out. His YouTube channel is down below. Now, Otto, do you have any other social media platforms that you're on that you want to tell anybody about? I didn't see any in any of your videos, so I'm assuming you just kind of want to keep it to YouTube.
Yeah, for now it's just YouTube. Maybe I'll make like an Instagram account or something in the future, but
Okay.
that's it for now. Yeah.
All right, excellent. Well, like I said, link is down below, so please go check them out. I'm trying to remember when I first found your channel. I know it was I kind of discovered it, and then I didn't watch some of your videos for a little while, and then I came back to it, and I was like, I really need to follow him a little bit more because, like I said, it's just as somebody who's been collecting books for on and off for a long time. I always enjoy talking to other collectors, but then like I said, also just having a younger collector and somebody, who has certainly will have a different point of view than me. So
yeah,
it was great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, but like I said, links down below, go check out his channel. And so we'll wrap it up. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you soon. Take care, Otto.
Bye guys. Thanks,
All
Brian.
right, bye.